I believe it's thecontentauthority.com. Alright, sorry about that. Yeah, so thecontentauthority.com is where he orders from, I believe, and then I order a lot of my PBN stuff from ineedarticles.com. But I believe he orders from here, then he kind of goes over it himself and just makes changes. So he gets like the original content there, and then he'll make changes. He'll kind of go over the content, so he doesn't have to write it from scratch. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so I'm a little disorganized today. Alright, let's see, from Jeremy. Alright, with a shared hosting strategy, do you need to worry about creating a footprint if you have 5 separate PBN linking to 5 separate money sites, even if you're using those same 5 domains on multiple shared hosting accounts? For example, if I have a HostGator account with PBN 1 to 5, would it be wise to host those same 5 PBNs on a Namecheap account? Or do you still suggest mixing it up some? Yeah, that's fine to do, Jeremy. I mean, because they're going to different money sites, so it doesn't really matter. So they can all be on the same host, and that wouldn't really matter. Or same domain registrar. Alright, hey Greg, I'm doing local services site for something similar to Emergency Dentist City as the main keyword, covering every state and major city. How much variation is needed from page to page to keep it reasonably safe from being penalized? I would check out Cotton's site, Jeff, because he does the same thing. I've never really done that, but I believe Cotton just changes out the location, and he does fine. So, let's see. Yeah, again, I would just go off Cotton's site, Jeff. He has different locations. You can just go through a site and look at the different locations he's ranking for. I believe he has the same content pretty much. And he's just changing out the location. But you can go and look on his site to see exactly how he does it, and that's what I would follow. So obviously what he's doing is working, so might as well follow a working example. Anything I'm missing or nuggets you have found recently to tweak? I've watched all your videos, but usually you have something extra gold to add when on these Q&A webinars. I mean, we always go over, recent stuff, Jeff. So, I mean, I'll just keep up on coming to the webinars, and everything I learned, I put on the webinars. So, or, if it's important enough, I'll do an updated video. Do you need to post your PBNs without any links on them first for a few weeks before you use them to link to your client's website? No, you don't need to. I'm not saying it might not be a good habit, but no, you don't need to. Will it affect SEO if we use 2 phone numbers on the website? Note only one of them was used for NAP consistency. The client wants to add another number on the website now. So, all right, that should be fine, David. I don't see why that would be a problem. Now, if your citations have different phone numbers, that's a problem, but I don't see it being a problem having 2 different phone numbers on the site. If I wanted to build a lead gen site for local electricians, would I target electrician keywords and build pages like commercial electrician, residential, or do I target their services, ceiling fan installation, breaker box repair? Then what about the domain URLs? I mean, you can do it however you want, just you just got to plan it out ahead of time. If you're going to have stuff about what was that? Like ceiling fans and breaker box stuff. You're just going to plan ahead to how you're going to map that out. Like how many cities are you doing? How many locations? How many topics? That's going to depend if you're going to silo it or not, probably. And then you're just going to have to pick what you do from there. So you can cover all that stuff on the same site. Just make sure you have a plan in place so you have the proper URL structure as far as siloing goes. I guess this is unlikely, but is it safe to redirect a de-indexed PBN to a Tumblr blog and link that blog to a money site? I don't really mess with that stuff, Marcus. So I couldn't tell you that from experience. From Michael, I have a site which is 4 months old, and when I do your test, the homepage does not come up. Any ideas why? The domain has never been used in the past. Remember that the penalty check is for PBNs, not for brand new sites. If a site doesn't have any links to it, it's just because it's not strong enough. But I mean, if it has a decent number of links to it and it's not passing the test, then that would be a concern. When taking on a new client, do you use or follow some sort of checklist? Does it make sense to create one? Not me, Danny. I mean, I would talk to Cotton about anything client or Fletch. But clients come on for me. Mike gets them, and then he tells me what we need to rank for, and I rank it. I don't deal with the clients. Mike will send me what needs to be ranked, and I'll go out and do the SEO for it. So, I mean, I guess for the SEO end, I'm going to go and look at their backlinks. I'm going to go look at their anchor text. I'm going to go do a penalty check on their site. That's the first thing I do is a penalty check. If I get a new client, or Mike sends me a new site to rank, first thing I do is run the penalty check. All right, they're not penalized. Let's go take a look if they're over-optimized. What's the rank text? Look at their on-page, see if they're over-optimized on-page, stuff like that. So, SEO standpoint is just penalty check, optimization, anchor text, links. And then I can get an idea of, what type of links I need to build from there. Like, can I go after money keywords right away? Do I have to kind of use more broad keywords first, generic? So it all depends like what they have in place already for what approach you're going to take. What is your definition of a doorway page, and what do we do to avoid being categorized as such? I've never paid attention to that stuff, Andrew. I don't even know what they consider a doorway page. I don't pay attention to the names of stuff really. I just kind of go off the testing data and just kind of pass along what I see. I have an idea of what it is, but I don't know exactly. I don't pay attention to what they call stuff. All right, I sent my first 2 keyword-rich links to a domain ranking on page 2, spot 18 for a national keyword. As soon as the links were indexed, the page dropped back to page 3, spot 23. Site has DA 46, PA 52, and PBNs were lower in power but have been used for other sites, so they're trusted. Is it common for it to drop back like that? Yeah, I mean, it can be. I mean, there's a lot of new stuff going on. I wouldn't worry about that right now. Just make sure you're not over-optimized. That could be a sign of over-optimization, but it is also kind of goes in line with what's going on recently. A lot of little changes going on. We're testing all around, see what's going on. So I wouldn't be too worried about, a 5-spot drop, especially if you just did the link. Do you use string technique style anchors at the beginning stages when building links, or do you use it toward the end once the regular money keyword anchors are not moving up any further? Do you mix it up? It depends, David. EMD, I'd probably do more stringing to start, but if it's like a branded, then I might do that later on. So for me, it depends on the optimization of the site. Again, EMDs, I'm more likely to start with a stringing type thing. Whereas if it's branded, then I'm more likely to go after the keywords earlier. Are safe links to social property safe? I mean, it depends. I mean, what your anchor text is. But I mean, safe links just kind of like any other links. So we don't really mess with that besides a little bit of testing. So I can't say safe links exactly, but I just know the style of links they are. As long as you have the optimization right, you should be fine. Is it faster to rank an internal page on an expired domain or an affiliate term for the home page? I wouldn't say either is necessarily safe or not. Tom, it just depends on, again, your whole vision of the site. I have sites where the home page is going for the affiliate term, and I have sites where an inner page is going for the affiliate term. Just depends on what type of site it is and what you're trying to do with it. How would you send PBN links to the following URL? Example.com/$plumber without over-optimizing it. If I send a PBN with the anchor plumber to the above URL, Google string the PBN anchor plumber and the keywords in the URL Dallas plumber, and then help me rank for Dallas plumber based on the string. Yeah, they would, especially if your title has Dallas plumber as well. So, are sidebar links as powerful as contextual? I've never really compared the two, but I would say it's pretty close. I mean, supposedly, contextual links are the best links, but I mean, really, a sidebar link can be a contextual link as well, and that can be it can also be a site-wide link depending on where it is on the sidebar. So, I mean, in some cases, they can probably actually be more powerful as a site-wide link, I would say, but I mean, generally, I would say they're the same power, page for page. Maybe contextual links have a little bit, but again, I've never really done a test to compare the two. Nice seeing you, Thomas. I have a keyword I'm tracking in the Microsoft Master, and it tells me keyword is ranking at 12. However, it's number 3 when I search for myself. Yeah, it's probably just different data centers, Thomas. And I see that sometimes as well. So. Alright, trying to be creative with PBNs. I'm second for my site SEO, but the number 1 site has tons of footer links for sites he's designed. Yeah, that's common. I've just built a strong PBN domain and was thinking of recreating the old site in the Wayback Machine and adding my branded anchor text in the footer. Have you done this? Will the footer links give me enough value? Yeah, I mean, I do it a lot. Usually a branded link's not going to move you a ton unless you have your keywords in the domain. Then it'll move you a little bit, but it depends on what your current optimization is. But as far as doing a footer link, that's totally fine. I do it all the time. I have a site that's about 4 months old and have 32 PBNs pointing to it. I have 1 keyword on the first page and about 25 on the second and third page, but it seems like after 25 PBNs it has stopped moving. I also mix social mentions and have some Web 2.0s with generic anchors going to it. Is there anything else I can do to push it? Yeah, just wait. 4 months old, again, is pretty new, and I believe they have a new guest sandbox, you could call it, in place. I'm not sure yet if it's for brand new sites, but it's happened in the last 4 months where sites are getting stuck on the second page, and I think it's just a link delay. So I personally believe that they're just having links take longer to kick in now. So you're going to have to just wait for that movement, and we're going to have to wait and see if that's true or not. But yeah, I'm noticing a lot of my newer sites, 4 months and younger, that they're getting stuck. Some of them are on page 1, depending on the competition of the keyword, but there is definitely sites getting stuck on page 2, but they're slowly moving up. So I think it's just a link delay type thing. If we look at again, I've brought this up many times, but for the people who haven't seen it, so I picked this random site to just do testing on. It's number 5 right here for Delaware Personal Chef. Okay, this is the PBN I did it from. I just rebuilt it in the Wayback Machine, and this was to test just relevance. There's nothing relevant on the site about chefs, but this moved it from number 40 to number 5 over. I believe it's been 5 months now. When did I start that? I think I started the test in April. So it's been almost 6 months. Okay, so this makes sense. This started at number 40, and right away when I did the link, it moved up to like third page, top of third page, I believe, if I remember correctly, within the first month. And then by month 2, it was like mid-second page. Then month 3 and 4 was actually stuck at number 10, number 11, 12, 13, around that range for about 2 months. And then finally, over the last month or two, it's moved up to number 5. So that's kind of like shows like a 6-month period of links where it's taking that long for them to fully trust that link and for you to get the full power of it. And I think that's what's going on with a lot of new sites because, again, it depends on competition, what's already there. But you'll notice a lot of the SERPs right now, in the past 4 months, there hasn't been much movement with the top sites. And I think that's because new sites are, the new links coming in, they're just taking longer to kick in. And again, that's exactly what happened with this site here. And I think that's when it started, is around April or so. And that's exactly when I did the link for the site. So, I mean, it goes hand in hand. So I think just links are taking longer to kick in. It makes sense if you look at it from a perspective of Google's already by far the best search engine. So why would they let new sites come in just take over the top listing? It kind of helps get rid of spam. And then people who are like buying links and stuff, people are going to be like, oh man, these links aren't working. I'm not going to continue paying for them. They're going to get rid of them, and then they're never going to get the full effects of the link. So I personally believe that's what they're doing. We should find out within a couple months for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. So I would just give it time, JR. My last question was poorly worded, I think. Basically, would it be a footprint issue if I had 10 hosting accounts and each of those all had 5 PBNs, which linked to the 5 same money sites on each? I mean, I try not to do that obvious, Jeremy, but I don't think it would be a problem, personally. I mean, I try not to do that. Like, usually if you have 10 hosting accounts, 5 PBNs on each, you usually don't need the same exact amount of PBNs for each site you do. But if you had to do it, I'm guessing it wouldn't be a problem. That's a pretty deep footprint for them to track. How did you check the Network Solutions footprint? Any other registrars we need to be careful about? Register.com looks really similar to Network Solutions. How did I check it? I mean, just kind of digging into all different data, like what did I do differently with these sites, and just looking at who is information, I just, I eventually just saw the pattern. So, and yeah, Register.com does have similar stuff. I don't get many Register.com sites, David. What are the steps to take if someone negative SEOs your client site? Can you make a video on penalty recovery? That's probably coming soon. I believe Stephen Floyd's doing something on penalty recovery now. But it has to do a lot with disavowing links, reconsideration requests. I mean, it depends on if the site got penalized, what's going on with the site. So, in your Over the Shoulder series, you mentioned a subdomain with Kraken and Social Explosions. Is this still worthwhile? Do you link any posts from subdomain to my sites? Don't worry too much about that, guys. I mean, that's just something that you can do to add a little boost to your site. I mean, very little, but there is risk involved with it. So, I mean, I don't do it much, but I just wanted in there to show you that, it is possible and you can use it. I would say the risk is very little. I don't think it's going to hurt you. Chances are it's not going to hurt you ever, but there is a little bit of risk there. So just be aware of that. I can't seem to find this an OMG breakthrough for a money site. What plugins do you recommend? Do these differ than for a PBN? I mean, depends who you ask that question to, but for my money sites, I'll usually use, I'll definitely use Social Explosion and Yoast SEO. Those are the 2 that I will definitely use. Now, I might add in others where, some money sites I'll use them, some I don't, but those are the 2 that I pretty much always use, Social Explosion and Yoast. If you had to start a brand new site for your SEO services in a major city, would you go for exact match, partial match, or branded? How would you decide that? I mean, any of those are still fine, David. I still do a mix of all of them. I mean, if you want to play the, you could always go in the middle. If you're not sure what to pick, you could always do a partial match. That way, you kind of get a little bit of both. You can work in a little bit of both worlds. So you can do like David S. SEO, you know what I mean? Something like that, or David S. Toronto, whatever you want to do, where you can mix in a partial match. You can kind of have the best of both worlds with that, and I do that as well. When setting up a Facebook account, do you recommend a closed versus open group? I believe open, Kelly. I mean, I've never really changed any settings or anything. So whatever standard is, I mean, that's what I usually leave it at. What do you think of anchors like hire an Atlantic electrician living in Buckhead? I mean, having 2 locations in the anchor text. I mean, if Buckhead's within Atlanta, that should be fine. There's nothing wrong with that. When hosting PBN, should we use different hosting companies or can we host them all in one hosting? Different hosting companies. That's covered in the videos, Edward. See the Q&A webinar in my coaching section. You mentioned before that you don't do DAS. Do you use Web 2.0s for anything? Yeah, I mean, I don't consider that DAS, Steve. I mean, that's pretty basic. That's just tiered linking. That's, I'll have Web 2.0s or social properties more linking to my money site, and I'll just link to those social properties. And that's not, I don't look at that as DAS. I look at that as just kind of boosting my social properties. So that's why I say I don't really do DAS. I just kind of keep it simple like that. And this kind of falls in line with that question there. Do you do any tiered linking? If you do, what anchors would you use for tier 2 and 3? What would you use exact match anchors outside or just broad? So yeah, I mean, I pretty much just do second tier linking where I'll link to my, social and Web 2.0s that are linking to my money site. I don't really do third tier personally. And then I kind of just treat those like a money site now. So I kind of use the same type of anchors that I use for a money site. Let's say I have 4 shared hosting accounts, on each a money site and a PBN site. Can I link PBN 1 to 3 to 4? And then, these are always hard to kind of wrap my head around without knowing. Let me read this to myself. I mean, the easiest thing to do is just host your money sites on different hosting than your PBNs. But I do have money sites on places where I have my PBNs hosted, but I don't link to that money site obviously from that host. But again, here I don't usually go this deep like into the footprint hole, I guess you could say, just because I have so many different hosts I use and like I don't have just 4, so I can't really say for sure. I don't think that would be something that would get you in trouble, but I mean it could be a footprint. I mean, it could be. I doubt it would ever get you in trouble from what I've seen with my sites and stuff, but I can't say 100% that wouldn't get you in trouble. Pretty sure it wouldn't, and it is possible it could, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't. So I mean, it's just up to you. The safest thing to do is just put money sites on a different host. Do you pay attention to traffic coming from social properties, or do you consider social signals only as links coming from social properties? For example, posting to a persona's Facebook page, check out my new article. I mean, I don't necessarily pay attention to it, Phil, but if I could get traffic from social properties, I think that's definitely a plus. Especially if it's and somehow Google can track that. I think they love traffic from social properties. So I mean, it's not necessarily something that I pay attention to, Phil, or I track. But if I can get it somehow, absolutely, I think that's a good thing. What do you think of Backlinks Saver plugin to replace Link Juice Keeper? I've never used it, David, so I'm not sure about it. You can probably post in the Facebook group, see if anyone else has used it. But I myself have not used it. So. If my example above creates footprints, can I use the linking pattern when I have Web 2.0 in between the PBNs and the money sites? Yeah, you could do that. I would say definitely, Peter. But again, I would just host those money sites on a different host than your PBNs to be safe. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't hurt you, but again, just to be, I'd rather you be safe than sorry. Alright, does Google read the taglines? Also, in looking at SEO, I'm better off having the header and actual text rather than an image. Yeah, I mean, Google will read anything that's on your page. You know, they're going to read any code that's on your page. They come and read the code. I mean, a tagline is going to be in your code, so if they don't see a site like we do, they see the code, and I mean, anything that's on your page is going to be in the code. Am I better off having the header and actual text rather than an image? I mean, you could have it either way. Again, remember they read the code, so if you have a header image, you know, you put all text in there that they would read, but I mean, usually my headers are just text. So there is so much SEO advice, PBN, social data, click-through rate, etc. Is it possible to and safe to rank a client with just PBNs without using anything else at all? Yes, absolutely, it's possible. And click-through rate is definitely getting more important. Click-through rate and traffic is getting more important. Probably something we'll be covering, you know, in the next couple months or so. But is it possible to rank a site with just PBNs? Absolutely. I got sites right now doing over $10,000 a month in profit with like 10 PBNs pointing to them. They've been sitting there for, you know, the past 6 months just collecting 10 grand each a month, autopilot, and they have just PBNs and nothing else. So is it possible? Absolutely. But you know, if you get social involved and you know you increase your click-through rate and you get more traffic, that's all just going to help you. All right, recently some of my PBNs have been de-indexed, one every couple of days. Is cheap hosting responsible for this? Probably. I mean, it's definitely not helping. Also, how to find out why the PBN was de-indexed? I mean, I can figure out why mine are de-indexed pretty much every time, David. It usually goes back to some type of footprint, or you know, in your case, it could be the cheap. I don't use cheap hosting. I use more popular type shared hosting account. Like I don't use the $1 hosting, the $1 cheap hosting. I don't like that. So that could definitely have something to do with it. But I mean, for me, like if I have all the data in front of me, then I know how to personally, like, you know, what to look for to see if possibly why it was de-indexed. But in your case, I wouldn't be able to tell because I just don't have the data you have. You know what I mean? So, right, how do I go about creating a directory-style rank, rent, lead gen website? There's no such directory for the niche I am targeting. I would talk to Fletch about that, Pratik. I know Fletch has done those type of sites. From David, one of my client sites is stuck at the top mid page 2 for more than a month now and isn't moving even after adding 3 to 5 extra PBNs. What could be the problem? More PBN power needed. The client site is over 2 years old. Just started working on the site since the past 2 months. Again, that falls in this window, David, that I'm talking about. In the past few months, things have changed where links have really slowed down. And again, I think they put a sandbox in place on links where they're just not going to allow your links to have that power to move to the first page. In most cases, it depends on the competition. I do have sites that moved up to the first page, but depending on the competition and who's in front of you, they're not going to allow you to overtake them, you know, in a short period of time. So personally, I think it's just a little sandbox on new links going on, but we'll see what happens. So I'll just give that time, David. Does Google read out pages that are set to no index follow, and can it use this info against you if it is your name and contact info, for example? I mean, you're basically telling them, when you know index follow, you're basically telling them to follow, but not to index it. So I don't know how they treat it. I just know that if you know you want to do that, I always do that for my tag and archive pages, or tag author and archive pages. Sorry, category tags and author archives. But other than that, I don't know exactly how they read it. I just know that that's what you need to do for your tags, categories, and author archives. So I'm not sure exactly how they read that. From Larry, when I start off 2 sites to get clients, Can they mimic each other in their content, or do I have to avoid that and have original content for you want to have original content for each site? Absolutely. I have a PBN that was de-indexed that has a link to a client site, and his rankings dropped 20 spots. What can I do to get it back? I mean, that's not necessarily why it dropped, Todd. First, what I would do is a penalty check on the client site. Again, if you don't know how to do that, just check the Q&A webinar. I go over how to do penalty checks and all that. If it passes the penalty check, that's not likely what caused it, in my opinion. It could be an optimization issue, anything like that. It could just be like a temporary drop, something weird going with the algorithm. Or sometimes you put in a link, things will drop, then they'll come way back up. They'll drop again, they'll come back up, kind of just dancing. So the first thing I would do is just check to see if it's penalized. All right. Hold on 1 second, test. All right, sorry, I thought someone was at my door. See, I mean, it's not necessarily from that de-index PBN, Todd. But again, do the penalty check and then make sure it's not penalized. Is there a reason that you know of that Social Explosion will work on one site and not on a different site? No, Larry. It should work the same on any site you put it on. If you're having problems, just make sure you contact their support. Do you use Social Explosion on every single PBN you build? I haven't used it at all yet, and I'm seeing movement. Just wondering how much more movement I'm missing out on at this point by not using it. Yeah, I pretty much use it on every PBN. I don't use it on some just to test the differences. I don't notice a ton of difference, but the way I look at it, social signals can only help. The social signals aren't gonna hurt you. So, I mean, everything we teach is going to work without Social Explosion. So Social Explosion can only help you with getting social signals involved. How can I make the best use of Social Explosion on my money site and PBN? Just set it up and set it on high. That's how you can use the best use of it. Since rankings seem to be going slower, how do we adjust our application of links? From my understanding, we keep adding links until we rank. Just slow it down, Danny. I mean, just make sure you're not getting frustrated and over optimized. Okay, because I think that's part of what they're doing as well. They want people to get frustrated and send more links, and just the more links you have, the more chance you have of over optimization. Just be confident in what we teach with optimization. Put those links in place and just let them sit. Have you noticed real traffic from using Social Explosion, or do you use it more for social signals? Great to meet you too, Sherry. No, I haven't noticed real traffic from it. I've never really looked into it. I use it more for the social signals. On the Facebook question, she probably wants to use a fan page rather than a group. Yes, Steve, I haven't really done fan pages, so I'm not sure. She was talking about the to make them public or closed. I mean, probably I would do public, not a closed one. I'm guessing would be the better option. I'm assuming you don't allow comments on a PBN, but how about on a money site? If no, what plugin do you recommend for no comments? That Axomet plugin, whatever that standard one is, but usually what I'll do is, if I'm allowing, I never allow comments to come in blindly, but I might go through and look at them. You can usually tell the real ones, then I'll just approve the real ones. Or Martin will do that. He'll do that on some of our E6 sites. In terms of the difference of setup between a PBN and expired domain for a money site, is it just a case of having the WP SEO plugin settings different, as you show in using Spider's Banker on a PBN and not on the expired domain for a money site? Is that basically Is there a bit more that you would do for the expired domain? Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing, Steve. Remember, you need to use Spider Spanker on a money site. I mean, because it's kind of like a security plugin. So, I mean, basically, it's the same thing. Or I'm setting them up the same way, virtually. I plan to use a US expired domain with a perfect domain name for another MyCity SEO site in the UK. Would you just build out the site in the usual way with no concerns? The domain is very strong, and I'm thinking it will give me a shortcut to the ranking in a huge UK city. Is this something you do? Yeah, I mean, that should be fine. I've never done a UK city, but I do know, like James Upjohn and people like that, they use mostly US expired domains to rank their UK properties, so that shouldn't be any problem at all. Remember, you can always ask someone who does that, like James or anyone else in the Facebook group, about ranking other countries with other domains. But I know it works. I know he does it. I've heard him talk about it. Do you still find auction domains the same way that you've shown in your videos? I think the videos are a couple years old. Also, can you give one additional tip that you may have learned for auction domains? Yeah, I still find them the same way, David. I mean, I might change up the filter a little bit. Maybe I'll use TrustFlow sometimes. I go back and forth. Sometimes I'll use DA still. I'll use TrustFlow sometimes, and I still look at the same things. I look at everything. I look at the domain authority, the TrustFlow, the name of the domain. How many root domains, how many links, all that. I mean, I look at everything, anchor text. So I mean, it's basically the same way I teach, David, except I might just filter it differently here and there. Like instead of doing all by DA, I might do by TrustFlow or things like that. Should I use microworkers to view YouTube video I embed on PBNs? Will that help? I've never tested that specifically, Pratik. I've used microworkers for other things like that, but I've never tested specifically for YouTube videos that I embedded on PBNs. So that's something interesting that could be tested. Regarding someone's question earlier about backlink saver plugin, I'm using it on a few of my sites and they seem to work fine. All right, awesome, Steve. I've never used it, so maybe I'll try that out. Because I actually have problems with Spider Spanker on a lot of hosts with that Ion Cube thing, where they won't allow you to install it. Something with Ion Cube. So maybe I'll try that on sites like that. Are you testing how engagement is affecting rankings and tools such as CrowdSearch and PandaBot? Absolutely, Jeff. Testing it a lot. I actually just put in a test on about 20 sites with stuff like this. So actually, Cotton's testing this extensively as well. So yeah, we're definitely testing that. If I'm testing a new PBN on a client site, how long should I expect to wait before I see any movement? I would like to wait and see if anything happens before I add a second PBN. I just want to know how long I should wait so I can make a decision if the PBN did any good or not. All right, so in the last few months, what I'm seeing is, I would say on average, I'm seeing maybe a little movement at first, like a little bit of movement at first. It depends on age of content and quality and all that, and quality of the PBN. But on average, I would say I might see a very little bit of movement at first, within the first week. And then about 28 to 30 days later, I'm seeing the first real noticeable movement. And then after that, I'm noticing about a month later, more movement. And then after a month after that, I'm seeing more movement. So, or within that time range. So it could be about 28 days before you see that first bit of noticeable movement, Stephen. It depends on where the site is and how old it is and the quality of the PBNs and all that. But generally, that's what I've been seeing in the last few months. I mean, again, since this is kind of like a new change going on, it's going to take a little bit more time for us to get the data back to be sure about everything. The more they slow things down, obviously it slows down testing. So, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people might look at that as a bad thing, but I think this is going to cause a lot of people to get out of SEO. A lot of people are going to get frustrated. They're going to have no idea what's going on. They're going to think it's not worth it, and they're going to be out. And I think it's going to open up a big window for people like a community like us that has extensive testing data and knows what's going on. So, are you now concentrating on getting and using high PA/PBNs to rank sites rather than any other software technique? Listening to you recently, it seems that you were all about powerful PBNs and ranking sites. That's always what I've been about, Craig. I mean, it's always worked for me. Pretty much since day one. I mean, well, I was using like unique article wizard back in the day, but for the last 3 years, I would say I've been pretty much using all PBNs, mostly PBNs. All right, are those sites of yours earning over 10 grand affiliate sites or customer sites where the customer is paying you to rank your site? Affiliate, Steven. So they're my own sites, kind of just sitting there. I don't got to talk to anyone. They just sit there and collect money. True OMG machine, I guess you could say. Is de-indexing the same as a penalty? I have a few PBNs expired domains that don't have much content, just basic theme and placeholders. Are they fixable? No, de-indexed means it's totally out of the Google index. All right, so let's go over here. All right, so this site is a site that got penalized a while ago for footprints. This site's penalized, okay? If we do a penalty check on it, delete period, put a space, you see it's nowhere to be found. All right, and it has enough links to it to be showing, but it's nowhere to be found. I know this site's penalized because I have it in Webmaster Tools as well, but you see that it still shows up when we do this, and it just showed up when I did the site. All right, it still shows up. So it's still indexed, but it's penalized. A de-indexed site will not show up in the index. So let's say this was a site name. There's no results. That means it's de-indexed. It's not in the Google index at all. So that's de-indexed. What was the original question? I have a few PBNs that don't have much content, just basic theme and placeholders. Are they fixable? It depends, Danny. Again, check out my video on in the Q&A on penalty checks. I usually just do like a dummy post to start. Might have 100, 200 words, something like that. And then I'll do a penalty check from there. That's usually enough to do a penalty check on it. If your site is in the sandbox on the bottom of page 1, will DAS increase sites ranking as we are increasing PA and DA? It could move it. I mean, it could, Steve. I haven't really tested that yet. I mean, again, I don't really do DAS. I'll link to my social properties and all that, but I don't really do DAS. Do you feel that Social Explosion helps make your PBN look real? I mean, maybe on like the back end, Danny. I mean, it doesn't change anything visually, but on the back end, I mean, yeah. I mean, if it's getting some social signals, it could help it look more legit. I have a business owner who wants to be ranked for a keyword nationally. Can citations have an impact on improving his rankings? Absolutely. I actually did a test. I mean, it's going to pass link juice. Where's these guys? Yeah, they're still there. Actually, 2 of them. So I did a test, 2 of the sites on the second page, where I sent citations to them. One, I used a fake address and they weren't in the maps. The other, I used a fake address and they were in the maps. So I used like a different address for each. And the point is, I just wanted to see if citations would move them up. But this is done a long time ago. And both people were on page 6, I believe, and 40 citations for each moved them from page 6 to page 4 with fake information. So it had nothing to do with like being in the maps or anything like that because I use fake address. It's just the links, like the link juice, the anchor text, all that boost them up from page 4 to page 6 to page 2. So I mean, yeah, it's gonna get you brand anchor text. It's gonna give you more just more juice all around. So yeah, I mean, it will help. When you say you would host your money site separately from your PBNs, would I be fine then to put a bunch of money sites on one shared hosting account or do I have to diversify the hosting for the money? You can do that, Peter, but be careful linking to two money sites from the same PBN if you're doing that, right? So what I mean, so let's say you got, money site 1, 2, 3. Let's say you got 3 money sites, and these are all on HostGator, right? And then you got PBN, and you link out the money site 1 and money site 2. Well, guess what? You just linked out the 2 sites on the same exact host, same exact IP. You know what I mean? So if you're going to do that, be very careful about linking to multiple money sites from the same PBN. When setting up a new PBN, can we use the archive.org history to restore some of the original content and then place our article with the money keyword anchor, or do you just create a random welcome post? You can absolutely do that, David. No problem with doing that. It's not necessarily, I got to put a disclaimer in there. When you get a PBN, you don't own the rights to the old content, so that's just up to you if you want to do that or not. Most people will never know, never care, but I just want to throw that in there. You don't have the rights to the old content, but does it work? Absolutely. Again, that's what I did right here. I just threw up the old site, threw a link down here. Literally took 5 minutes, and over 6 months we saw 3.5 pages of movement from a totally irrelevant PBN that cost me $11. It's not even good. I think the trust flow on this was like 11 when we checked it, something like that. The fresh index. Yeah, 11. And the historic was 6. So this is not a quality PBN. Yet it still moved the site from page 4 to the mid-page 1 over a 6-month period, from totally irrelevant content, nothing relevant at all to this anchor text. Yet, we still got 3.5 pages moved. So. All right, can you talk a bit about link velocity? I still feel a bit unclear on this as there seems to be varying opinions on this. How do you know when it is safe to link frequently and when it is better to slow it down a bit? What do you look at to gauge this? Most of you are never going to have to worry about link velocity. It is my opinion on that. I'm doing testing right now where I've sent over 100 links to a site all at once, and I've had no problems yet. I'm not recommending you do that, and it could catch up to me. I started the test about 2 months ago, but so far I've seen nothing but positive movement from it. So, most of you are never going to have to worry about link velocity, in my opinion, from what I've seen. I'm so sorry to ask this, but I cannot find the Q&A webinar you just mentioned. Kathleen, I was talking about the Q&A webinar in my coaching section. It's right, if you click on my coaching section, it's right on the home page there of my section. It's called the Q&A webinar. I want to tell you thanks for all you provide here. I just posted my $155,000 income report because of the great value you provide. Awesome, Dean. That's awesome. I'm sure I'll be seeing that soon from Mike. That's awesome. Sorry if you can hear the guys cutting my grass. Kind of loud out there. All right, would you say it could be a footprint to have a Spiders Bank or a money site and on the PBNs linking to it? You can always use hide my WP to hide all your stuff with where because that would be the only footprint I'd be worried about is Google seeing the same exact plugins on the two, which I still haven't seen a problem with. But that's the only possible way that I'd be worried, but not really. But could it be? It could be, Steve. That's the answer. But would I be worried about it? No. Question: Topical trust. Do you think it should always be related to the topic or theme of the PBN to the money site? It doesn't have to be, Dean. You see again here. I think they're having a lot of problem distinguishing topical trust. Now, if it's related, I think it's going to help. Okay, but if it's unrelated, I think they have so much problems identifying topical trust unless it's directly related. You know, if it's directly related, they can identify it, but if it's not, they can't really say, well, it's not related, we're not going to give them any credit. I think they have a lot of problems doing that. I mean, you see this right here, a site on real estate, all main line, wherever that is. I don't even know where this is located. It might be, okay, main line is actually in PA, like up by Philly. And then we have a site about Delaware, personal chef. Absolutely nothing about chefs on here or Delaware. And we got 3.5 pages of movement. And again, the PBM is not even good. There's no topical trust flow on chefs or cooking or anything like that. The topical trust flow is on arts, radio. Well, there is some on health, actually. And then on business and directories. But yeah, I mean, I've seen movement from sites that actually no topical trust flow, and the movement is great. So, not saying it doesn't help, but it doesn't need to be relevant. CrowdSearch and PandaBot, Ryan, is... I've used CrowdSearch. I'm testing with that, but so CrowdSearch, what it'll do is it will like go out and so let's say we're trying to rank for let's just say Nashville SEO. All right, so we're already number 1 there. Well, in the map's number 1. Then we got our YouTube video here, number 3, Facebook 4, Yelp 7. Let's say we want to move up our Yelp. Okay, so we would put Nashville SEO into a campaign in CrowdSearch, and it will go out and have people search for this keyword and go down and click our listing. All right, and then it'll have them spend time on the page and kind of click around. Maybe, I mean, you can tell it to do all different things like click links, you know, stay on the page for 3 minutes. So what that's going to do is it's going to increase our click-through rate, and it's going to increase our time on site. It's going to increase our user engagement metrics. So, you know, again, it's going to keep searching for this. You know, you can do like, you know, I want to go out and search 7 times a day. So let's go out and search 7 times a day, 7 different people go search for this. They'll come down, click on the Yelp. What that's going to do is raise the click-through rate for this listing for Nashville SEO. All right. And then, of course, it's going to increase your time on site and all that type of stuff, user engagement, because you can tell them to stay on the site for a while and all that. I guess PandaBot does about the same thing. In the last 30 days, what has been the minimum you spent on what you consider a powerful PBN? I'd like to get to a point where I'm just getting these types of PBNs. $69, Danny. I still find PBNs very cheap. Do you use WhiteSpark or something else for citations? I use all different things, Jeremy. But yeah, I've used WhiteSpark. I like Bright Local. And there's a lot of different stuff you can use. You can use a VA. You mentioned before that you create a new Webmaster Tools account for each money site. So you create a different Gmail for each money site. Do you do anything special in logging in and out between different Webmaster Tools accounts? Or are you saying you don't use proxies? No, I don't do anything special, and I don't do Webmaster Tools accounts for most money sites. If I do put it on a different Gmail account for each one. Do you theme your PBNs mostly? I have been more, but not all the time, Anthony. Again, I like to get testing involved, so I do all different stuff. I think it's the safest way to go for you guys, but no, I don't necessarily do it all the time. Need to rewrite an earlier question. I want to use an expired U.S. domain as a money site and rank it in UK for my city SEO. Do you see any problems doing this? Go and search for the city name, Marcus, and see if any of those are ranking. Okay, so for example, google.com.uk. Oops. Google.co.uk. Whoops. Again. And see what's ranking. Alright, so if you're trying to rank for like London SEO, what's ranking for London SEO? There's a UK, there's a .org, there's a .com, .co.uk, .co.uk, there's a .com. So it looks like it's pretty split between .co.uk and, you know, .com type stuff. So that should be totally fine. So I mean, I always go and do a search and I see what's ranked. Like if it was all .co.uk, I would say no, go out and get a .co.uk. But I mean, since we do see other stuff in here and ranking high, I mean, it should be totally fine. My client has an e-commerce site. The first page is a lot of big companies such as Walmart, Amazon, eBay, etc. It also has one or two local business sites. How difficult is it to rank such a situation? How much would you charge a client for e-commerce SEO? The keyword is clothes rack, New York. I would talk to Cotton about that, David. He's much better with, how much to charge a client. I never deal with like charging price. I just deal with the ranking. So I would probably talk to him about that, David. He'll give you a much better answer than I can. I have a PBN in the health niche with a PA of 27 and DA of 41. Can I use this domain as a money site in any niche? Does it have to be in the same niche? If it's in the same niche, it's going to do more for you, but you can still use it in any niche. Steve. Let's see if there's any final questions here. All right, so we had a few more roll in. I'll get these last ones and we'll get rolling. My voice is about going for today. All right, I asked you a minute ago how long to wait for a PBN to take effect on a client's site. Does it matter if the PBN is new or old to you or to me? What if it had it linking to a dentist and the dentist quit working with me? So I switched the URL to a different dentist website. Should I expect the same waiting process to go through to the new dentist or website all over again? Or would it be faster this time than when I first bought the PBN? I think it would be the same. I think any link, Steven, this is what I believe, any link is going to take, what I said to kick in. I mean, it might speed it up if it's a good PBN, but generally, you're talking about the same PBN. I think you're going to see the same time frame for what you saw with the first link, as long as you did new content and all that. If you just went to the old article and changed out the link, that can actually mess with stuff. So hopefully you didn't do that. But if you did new content, new link from the same PBN, you should see it's about the same time frame of movement. What is the average trust flow of your PBNs? Also, what is the average number of backlinks on your PBNs? I know you might buy really strong PBNs, but I just wanted to get a quick idea on the stats. Well, PBNs roughly in the following stats: DA 23, PA 53, 35, trust flow 20. Be good enough for local SEO? Absolutely, definitely. I mean, it's not all about metrics, but at the same time, I mean, generally, if it's a decent site with those metrics, yeah, that's fine. Gregory Ortiz here. What's up, Gregory? We'll see if he's still here. Yeah, I'm just going to unmute you, Gregory, in case you want to say anything. A couple more questions. I've ranked my UK SEO site on page 1. It's a .org. Yeah. So, I mean, just check what's ranking, and then, if you got those types of domain extensions on there, go for it. I've been having a look at anchor text of some authority sites that cover a lot of different topics in Ahrefs. It looks like several of them mainly have branded anchor text, but a hell of a lot of links. However, these sites often rank number one for really competitive terms. So in cases like this, Google just trying using the on-page to determine relevance for the search, and the site then ranks for big keywords based on the amount of power from a huge. Yeah, I mean, and also of course that goes back to the domain authority, Steve. Remember, that's different than sites like we own. They just have tons of domain authority. Can you please outline a strategy how you would go after a long tail keyword like how to lose weight for women over 50? How would you set up the URL title and anchors? It depends on the domain name, Peter. I mean, that question goes pretty in depth. But again, that's something I actually covered in the Q&A webinar. So go to the Q&A webinar. There's a timestamps. Go over the optimization section. All right. What's up, Gregory? I don't think Gregory can hear me. I'll unmute him so he doesn't start randomly cussing at us. All right, guys. So it looks like that is. Let's see if there's any more here. All right, so there is 3 more questions. I'll cover these last 3. I gotta get ready to go get Bryson, and we'll get rolling. I don't want to leave anyone hanging here. All right, adding to my previous question regarding e-commerce SEO with a lot of big players on page 1, how difficult is it to rank? Is it really hard in such a case? It can be. I mean, it depends. Like, you got to look at who's ranking the links they have, their optimization, domain authority. I mean, you gotta look at everything. But yeah, I mean, there's some that are really hard. There's some that are not as hard as they look. So I mean, it just depends. Could you do a quick scenario of anchor text for an EMD, but I have a fake company name to brand the site? For example, cityplumber.com. Company name is Williams Plumbing Company. Quick scenario. All right, so you have like Dallas Plumber. I mean, just use a mix of both, Jamie. When you do like cityplumber.com, it's going to give you credit for the keyword city plumber, and you're not going to really over optimize that doing that. That's branded domain name, so that's not going to really over optimize, but you're also still going to get credit for city plumber. But then you can also mix in, Williams Plumbing Company. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I would just mix the two together. Okay. Can you explain how Backlink Saver works? I've never personally used it, Joanne, so I'm not sure. I don't want to talk on that plugin because I've never used it personally. I think that is it. Luckily, my voice held up. It's the same as Link Juice Keeper, Ryan said. So basically, it takes all of your. If it's the same as Link Juice Keeper, it will take all of your. It takes all links to non-existing pages and redirects them to the home page. All right, so it's basically saying, if a link has gone to a page that's no longer there, redirect it to the home page. All right. All right, guys, that is it for today. I will get this recording over to David. Hopefully this one recorded right. And I will see you guys all next Monday. Talk to you all soon.